The answer for this one is 3. Answer to this one is 4. This one goes till the bell goes off. Answer is 6. For this problem, you can take out a 3xy and be left with x minus 4y. Alright, you can take out an 8a out of both of those and be left with b minus 3. Oh, 2b, my fault. Yeah, 2b. 2b minus 3. You can take out a total of 15ab from both of those and be left with a plus 2b squared. Here's a multiple choice. Block letter only. Solve that quadratic equation. Well, if you do this by factoring, the two numbers that multiply to give you negative 16 and add to give you negative 6 are 2 and negative 8. But you reverse those to get the answer, which is negative 2, 8, and that would be B. Here we go. Construct a rough graph of a function. So just what we did yesterday. Here's example 1. When you're presented with a quadratic equation that you must graph, your first thing is to solve it, to find the zeros. And your first option should be to try to factor it out. If it's not factorable, then you might want to try the quadratic formula. Can't go wrong with the quadratic formula. Is this one factorable? Yes, it is. What two numbers multiply to get negative 12 but add to get negative 4? What's negative 6 plus 2? Negative 4. All right. So we can do this. I'm not sure this is bright enough, so I'm going to do this. There we go. Is that bright enough? All right. Y equals the quantity of x minus 6, closed quantity, times the quantity of x plus 2. Now when I go to solve that, what do I do to solve it? You do what with each one of these? Yeah, you set them equal to 0. You can. So what's x equal in the first one? 6 and negative 2. So once you factor it out, if you want to take a shortcut, you just do the opposite of this. Just reverse these, and that only works when you just have an x there. Later on down the line, you'll have stuff with 2x minus 3 in your quantities, and you can't just reverse it. You have to actually solve it out. So what we just found here are the zeros. And that's where it's going to cross the x-axis. Do you remember from yesterday what we have to find next? Starts with an A. AOS, which is Axis of Symmetry, yes. So AOS, and do you remember the formula for that?
Was it the x equals b over 2a?
X equals b over 2a is close. It's just missing one little part. Starts with an N. Negative sign, yes. So we have to put that in there. Do you remember where you find the b and the a from? Right, this is your A, this is your B, and I just brought down the notification center. There we go. And C. So A in this case is 1 and B is negative 4. So plug those in. A is 1 and B is negative 4. So if I plug in a -4 here for b, don't forget I've got this negative sign already out there. So a -4 over 2 times, and a was 1. What happens to the double negative? Positive, so I have 4 over 2. What's my axis of symmetry? 2. So the axis of symmetry would be 2. Alright, now, once I find the axis of symmetry, what's next? You got to find something that starts with a V.
Vertex.
Vertex. How do I find the vertex? Yes, you have to do something with that 2. You have to put it somewhere. Yes, you plug it into the x's for your equation. So y equals x squared minus 4x minus 12, and you're going to plug in this in for x and evaluate. So you should have y equals 2 squared minus 4 times 2, and then minus 12. As long as you show that you've plugged that in on your work, you just use a calculator and evaluate it out. Because the main lesson is supposed to be how to graph this and not making small mistakes on the basic math. So, but I have to work it out anyway so I can get the answer. 4 minus 8 and then minus 12 should come out to give you a negative 16. Do you remember what you do with that negative 16? Yes, he's right. You put it with the x because this up here was the x, and what we just found here is the y. So when you have x and y, you have created something that starts with a p. Point. You created a point.
Which was the x?
The x is 2.
And the y is.
Because here's the x, and it's 2, and here's y, and it's negative 16. So the point is 2, negative 16 for the vertex. So with that information there, you can go to your graph and start to assemble this stuff. We can't do anything until we change the scale of the y-axis because we can't go down 16 for our vertex. So here's what you have to do. It does go down 8. Yeah, we're going to make this go by 2s. Is what? Oh, yours goes down to 14? Well, you can still do the same thing I'm going to do, and that is to change your scale, and instead of making this negative 1, it's negative 2, negative 4, negative 6. Just go down by 2s until you reach a 16. Now, don't do this without thinking about it first. Whoops, I should be having a 10 there. There we go, 12. Don't do it without thinking about it first, because if you start writing down through there, you're going to end up with, you may not have enough, and you'll clutter up your graph. But what you do to the bottom, you need to do to the top. So instead of 1, 2, 3, and 4, we're going to go 2, 4, 6, 8, and all the way up to at least 16, just to be consistent. So there you go. We've changed the scale. So since we've done that, we can put an axis of symmetry on here. The axis of symmetry was 2. So we need to find 2 and put a line through it. If I can find the line tool, there it is. So the axis of symmetry is straight up and down. I have to draw mine separately and then move it. So there's your axis of symmetry. Now you need to put the vertex on it, and the vertex was 2, negative 16. So we'll go all the way down here and put the vertex right there. That's where it's going to change direction. And we have the zeros that we solved for, so that would be a negative 2. Now remember, the x-axis did not change scale, and that's fine. So we have to go over to negative 2 and make a dot. and then go over to the right for a positive 6 and make a dot. Do you remember what we had to do yesterday?
Something like that. Go over one on each side.
That's right. We want 2 extra points. He's right. So we start here and we'll go over 1 to a negative 3, and then from here we go over 1 to positive 7, and we want to plug those into the equation so we can find 2 more points so we can be as accurate as we can be. We can do that down here below this graph. The original equation was y squared, not y squared. I can't take that out. Yeah, I can take that out. There we go. Knock that out of there. The original equation is y equals x squared. Was it minus 4x minus 12? Alright, so we chose negative 3. So we're going to dump that in. And then evaluate. That's a 9 plus 12 minus 12. You should get a 9. So if we plugged in negative 3 and came back with a 9, an extra point we found is negative 3, 9. That's on that graph. And we'll do the same thing with the positive 7 that we chose from the right side. So again, your equation is y squared, or not y squared, y equals x squared minus 4x minus 12. And now we put in a 7 and come back with 49 minus 28 minus 12, which is also a 9. So if we put in a 7 and came back with a 9, we have the point 7, 9. So we're going to take that stuff back up here to the graph. Remember the points, negative 3, 9 and 7, 9. So we'll go over here to negative 3, 9, and that's going to be between the 8 and the 10, so it's going to be here. And 7, 9 would be here. Say what? You can draw the curved line now, but you could also do something else that might make it more accurate. Just think about connect the dots. If you have a connect the dot picture, the more dots you have, the better picture you can make. Where are some dots missing at in this that would help us out tremendously? On the bottom, right. Yeah, if we had some dots down in this area, it would probably be a little more accurate. If I wanted to choose or find a point down in here and here, where would I go from my zeros? Yeah, you go inside. And if I went in 1, that would put us, the point would be lying on this line here. And then this line here. What if I went in 2? I think if we went in 2, it might help us out. What's 2 in from this? If I go 2 to the right from that one? 0. And what about 2 to the right from this one? It would be 4. How about 0 and 4? Let's go down here and try 0 and 4. So y squared, I did it again. 3 times in a row I've said it, and I wrote it twice. Y equals x squared minus 4x minus 12. And we're going to plug in 0. So 0 minus 0 minus 12. Because these will just cancel out when you put zeros in them. I put in a 0 and came back with negative 12. So why don't we put that on the graph? 0, negative 12 would be right here. There's another dot for us. And do I have to work the other one out? Yeah, just put it on there because it'll be even with it. So let's shorten up this graph here a little bit, and you can go through and draw it now. I'm going to make mine in black. So I'll start, always make it go clear to the top. Make sure there's a curve in it. And there's your graph.
Can this do one more? It's half hour long, probably.
Like we went over with the hints, you should have had a -1 and 2 for your zeros. Axis of symmetry is a half. Your vertex is 1/2 and -2 1/4. And the extra points I found are -2, 4, and 3/4 that we can put on the graph. So we'll go to the graph paper next. Well,
-4, 10, and -5, 10.
you don't have to change the scale on this one. So you just have to put down your -1 and your +2. Your axis of symmetry is a half, and that's going to run through 1/2, so I've got to draw it first and then move it. There's your axis of symmetry, and your vertex is 1/2 and 2 1/4. So I have to zoom in to do that. 2 1/4 is going to be approximately right here. There's -2 1/4. And my extra points that I found were -2 and 4. So we'll go to -2 and then 4 there, and 3 and 4 right there. Alright, here's my best attempt.
Let's get the back. We're not gonna hammer. Watch, no one will have tomorrow.
Somebody there, right down there.